Okay, damit willkommen zurück zu Unknown Nine Awakening. Danke, Gehirn.
Haruna, we're coming up on Sintra. Meet me in the bridge.
Ich muss aber erstmal noch mit den Leuten quatschen, ne? Ich habe hier, warte mal, ganz kurz. Eben, einen Moment. Hier unten sind gerade Overlays von Dingens. So.
Not sure why you'd want to include me in searching Vincent's office when you barely know me. It's kind of you.
Now I have a ledger and the cargo manifest because of your persuasive kicking foot. Research goes better with two.
Research? That's a funny word for snooping.
Academics have a lot of funny terms for questionable acts, I found. One of my favorites is examination further would be captious beyond the scope of our research.
What does it mean?
Ooh, yikes. My education is part of who I am. I wouldn't trade it for anything, but I'm not in academia for a reason. It's tiring, talking to men who are determined to use 10 syllables when 3 will do. It's that impenetrable academic vernacular that creates a barrier to knowledge, instead of disseminating it.
Instead of, what?
Oh, I'm sorry, it means...
I know what it means, don't worry. Can't believe I got you.
Haruna, what's the holdup?
To hear
You're
Lucy
needed
tell
in the
it,
bridge.
you two share a love of knowledge.
It's true. We both want life to open its secrets to us.
Ich quatsch jetzt einfach mal ein bisschen mit denen.
Weft of the world itself, and I suspect we want it for the same reason. We are missing some pieces.
I describe Luther as a few cards short of a full deck, but I wouldn't say that of you.
I don't mean we're mad. We lost people. Luther won't tell me who he lost, but I can see his hidden empty place of grief. I've had mine long enough. I saw it in you too, you know?
Before Luther told me Reka isn't actually dead, and made my last 4 years of grief a joke.
Yes, I don't envy you the shock, of course, but I do envy you having the chance to speak to your mother again. I'd have done anything for that.
Do you know, Reka isn't my mother, right?
Right. You're going to war against a splinter cell of a secret society to avenge an acquaintance. Sure.
How did you...
Das sind schon viele Gespräche, ne?
You don't? Sorry. I know you're asking about me because you're too proud to ask for yourself, but you should know grief never goes away. There will always be jokes you want to tell them, habits you have to break, the pain and indignation of losing something that made you, you.
Sounds lovely.
I was only loss and pain, Haruna. Grief was as big as the world. But even so, I made my life bigger than grief. A death never leaves you, but if you build enough, your life can overtake it in size, holding it in place, like the balloon covering the morning star. I'm glad you feel comfortable enough to ask me questions. We're all here because we're nosy after all.
Ah, okay, aber das war's.
Haruna to the bridge.
Heide Gosh.
Haruna to the bridge.
Heide Gosh, ich habe noch was zu erledigen.
The whole operation.
Ja, ist mir egal.
Haruna, wondered when you stopped by. You look like a woman with questions. And you're in luck, kiddo. I might just have some answers.
Thank you, George. I gather you and Luther...
Aber das kennen wir ja schon.
Partners in crime for longer than I care to remember. Opposite sides
Also
of the
das,
same
und
old
ich kann es
coin.
leider nicht skippen, ne?
You strike me like you don't have a care in the world. As for Luther, I know he puts on an air of levity, but there's a deep sadness to him. Like lingering smoke.
Ah, okay, ich kann das leider
Hold
nicht
up
skippen.
I'm
Das ist
not
ein
in the
bisschen
habit of
schwierig.
spilling another man's beans, and definitely not based on you sensing smoke, no matter how much I want to help you. Maybe there's another reason for what you're sensing.
Well, I don't know when he last washed that coat, but...
I don't either, but here's hoping he's caught in the rain sometime soon, eh? Luther, if not for that man, I'd be dead a dozen times over. That darkness, it might be the only way he keeps the pain in check. Pain like Luther's got, it'll never go away. So he uses it. It's what drives him to help people when he can, and fight those who'd unleash suffering on the world. It's why he'll never have a more loyal friend, or determined enemy. Or sometimes, both at once. Remind me to tell you the story of how he
Genau.
and I
Und
met
ab
sometime.
hier, glaube ich,
Let's have that story then.
Sure.
Mhm.
How's that one go again? Right. This was back in 73? No, 74. Eventually, they called that particular bloodbath the Red River War. At the time, we just called it hell. I was on the Union side. The Indians, well, they had Luther.
Indian? I thought this was... right. You're saying Luther fought American soldiers.
It was a different army, and he was different then too. The people that raised him were fighting to their last stand against enemies who would never stop coming, it turned out. I was part of the 9th Cavalry.
Mhm.
We'd taken losses, they'd taken losses, the whole thing turned into chaos. Leastways, it sure seemed that way. Especially when I got separated from my regiment. I'd only just realized I was cut off when a stray shot, whose I couldn't say, they had long rifles themselves, went straight through my horse's neck. Next thing I know, I'm waking up next to a dead horse and a bloody tree stump with a bloody knot on my forehead. Don't know how long I was out, but the battle had moved on. I'd just gotten to my feet, had to make sure I could, when Luther found me. He'd been scouting our flank and his own horse threw him when a cannon spooked her. My rifle was under a ton of dead horse, but I managed to draw down on him just as his pistol cleared the holster. So we stood there, two bloody, muddy fools on a cold battlefield, moments away from ending each other's stories for good. Don't worry, a bunny rabbit stopped us, but that's a longer story. I gotta tell you, that Vincent sure knows how to stock a bar.
Okay, that's
Seen
it, huh?
Luther around?
Ja, das war's. Okay. Hier unten ist, glaube ich, noch jemand. Ich will wissen, was die alle so zu erzählen haben, weil die Storys tatsächlich sehr interessant sind. Nein, das ist die Brücke. Mhm. Ich will jetzt noch mal eins hoch, um zu gucken, ob wir jetzt da oben reinkommen. Mal, hallo.
What do you want out of all this, Haruna?
You want my biography? Why do you care?
Not a good start.
Fine. My name is Haruna, and I'm here to find my mentor.
Simple, but not untrue. What is the fold?
You think I don't know what the fold is? Okay, it's the hidden world, also a crucible. To temper the soul. Path that leads to even deeper mysteries. It's a place I've only skimmed the surface of. You want me to define a fold with words? I might as well try and sell you the sunset.
You give up too easily. Pride, hubris. Beware the way they twist your own heart against others. Against yourself. Many thousands of years ago, the Nine had been through a few cycles of destruction. They believed they could predict our apocalyptic endings and chaotic rebirths with near-perfect accuracy. Proud had the Nine grown of their power, and indeed, that cycle had been the most prosperous and happy they could remember. And as brilliant as they are, they fell prey to wishful thinking. But they forgot the forces that make mockeries of the powerful. Bad luck, statistical chance, and gravity.
Gravity?
The acoustics here are so peculiar, I swear I could hear an echo. If nothing else, the Nine recorded the disaster as best they could. The object, a meteor the size of a mountain, struck without warning in the northern hemisphere. The planet was in a small ice age at the time. All the ice in the world more or less melted at once. The ocean suddenly had to cope with another ocean's worth of water. The water rose and rose, reducing the number of human survivors even further. In the end, only around 6,000 of us were left in all the world.
A great flood. Almost every culture
Has a flood myth. And the most famous one today is that fellow with the boat and the animals. But there were many others. But what no one but the Nine remember is the earlier floods. This was merely the first.
Why didn't they do something afterwards?
They did. If not for the Nine, humanity could have gone extinct. But in their zeal to save us, the next cycle would suffer terrible events. Disease, famine, war. The signs of a cycle rotten at the core. And it prevented them from seeing other mistakes that were adding up. The potential of the cycle was utterly consumed with selfish corruption. And the next cycle? Well, that one had some really good food, but also quite a bit of corruption. We've spoken enough for the moment, don't you think?
Okay. Wenn du das meinst. Ich will jetzt mal gucken, ob wir hier oben auch den Fußtrick... Ach, verdammt. Oh, aber hier steht wer.
So,
Hallo.
the mysterious quester finally decides to pay a visit to the ship's engineer. I'm Mara. I take care of this tub.
I'm Haruna. It's nice to properly meet you, Mara. You strike me as quite young to be the engineer of the entire ship.
You strike me as quite foolish to go toe-to-toe with Vincent when you don't even know which way is up.
Was ist mit
You're
ihr denn
right,
gerade
you know.
passiert?
It was reckless to try and take on Vincent by myself. It's something Rekka would never have allowed. She was sensible that way. Like you, I suspect.
Anyone with any smarts would stay plenty far away from that guy. Believe me, he's bad news. Listen, Haruna. Seeing Vincent and everyone, that was the first time since the divide I'd been that close to him. I'm not saying I want to be particular friends, just...
What
I
is she
understand.
doing?
He scares you too, doesn't he?
Of course he scares me. And he should scare you too, more than he does. The day of the divide, I was only 12.
Jetzt so ein bisschen
But
moonwalken?
I'll never
Na, schade.
forget what his face looked like when he...
It's all right, Mara. I was there. For some of it, at least. I remember what happened to Rekka. And how Vincent...
No, not that. Not that. Later, when he demanded my mother join him, join the Ascendants, it wasn't even anger. When he realized she couldn't be convinced, it was like we weren't even people to him anymore. I looked up at him. And
What is she
kindness.
doing?
no
Ich finde
compassion.
die Geschichte gerade echt gut, aber Alter, das ist komplett ablenkend, ne?
Humanity. All he cared about was the fold and whatever he found in there. I hope he gets lost there and never comes out. Hey, you wanna get me in trouble? I've got work to do.
Okay. Schnell weg hier, weil sonst kriege ich noch einen Anfall, weil sie die ganze Zeit da vorne hin und her rennt. Okay, damit haben wir das alles clear. Das haben wir auch. Hier haben wir eigentlich auch mit eingequatscht. Das heißt, warte, nicht ganz vielleicht. Ich muss mal hier oben die Seiten noch kurz checken. Aber ne, Quatsch, das ist ja Quatsch. Okay.
If we come in low along this line, the ridge should hide our approach.
That's a good hike from the Quinta.
Any closer and we risk detection.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Ah, Haruna. I'd like to introduce you to Fortunato, mapmaker extraordinaire and our designated navigator. That tall order over there is our pilot, Astrid. You can thank her for losing our Ascendant friends.
Pleased to meet you.
Piacere.
Good to meet you, Haruna.
We're coming in on Sintra. I'll be heading down to the landing platform with you.
Achso, okay, das war's schon.
Ah, there you are. Everyone
Was
on
ist
the
mit
ship
seinem
has an effect
Hals?
on her course, and the smallest shift in weight can require a course
Seine
correction.
Arme.
A navigator must know
Seine
that
Füße.
everyone on board, the way the conductor of an orchestra, must be aware of every instrument and when they are to play.
All right. And?
So, I wanted to get a look at you. I'm not judging your fashion sense. I just wanted to eyeball your weight. Out of context, I can hear how that sounded awkward.
Hello, Fortunato.
Welcome aboard the Morning Star, Haruna. You'll soon find the crew is the orchestra, and our quest is a symphony.
Was ist denn mit seinem fucking Model passiert? Ach Leute, sowas.
I'll do my best to stay in tune, Maestro.
Uff.
Do you enjoy the arts, Haruna? Does a questor have time to do anything as simple
Ich habe
and
dem gesamten
enjoyable
Gespräch
as-
nicht folgen können bis jetzt, ne, weil ich immer nur gucken muss, wie er aussieht.
I admit it's not something I've given much thought. There isn't a lot of time for such things. I saw a moving picture once, in Cairo.
Have you ever heard the Great Caruso?
Is that a piece of chamber music? It doesn't sound familiar.
The Great Caruso is not an it, he is a him. The greatest tenor who ever lived.
I'm afraid I don't usually have time to attend the opera. No, that's not true. I never have time to attend the opera.
You must make time. There is no human endeavor as meaningful as music, and no music as purely beautiful, moving, and alive as the opera. And, as luck would have it, Vincent was also a lover of music. Life is a symphony, Haruna. Enjoy the music.
Ich mache einfach die Augen zu, ist glaube ich besser. Ah, okay, alles klar, ich darf weitergehen, damit ich ihn einfach nicht mehr angucken muss. Hey, der Witzka.
So, tell me, Haruna, how are you adapting to your new surroundings?
Well, the Morning Star is certainly impressive. I've never been aboard anything like it.
Her. Anything like her. Our sea may be the sky, but the Morning Star's still a ship, and every inch a lady. Now listen, please. I want to go over some basic rules for passengers on my ship. And make no mistake, you may be a questor, and you may be helping out, but you are not truly part of this crew. Not until I say you are. Understand. Nothing I am about to say is to be taken personally. It is not your fault that when it comes to airships, you are almost certainly inept at best, dangerous at worst.
Why would I take that personally?
First, you never ever touch these controls. You are not qualified. You are not rated. You are not welcome to twist
Jetzt
a
möchte ich
single knob
dieses
or even
das
flip
fucking
one
Ruder berühren
switch
und einfach
unless I tell you
steuern.
to. Second, Mara, my daughter, is old enough to make her own friends. But if I ever learn Mara has forsaken her future to follow you or anyone else around the globe on some ground-pounding wild moose chase, I will stop you.
Trust me, Captain. Asking anyone else to take on this life? I would never. I don't regret my choices, but they were my own. And Captain, you do know it's goose, yes? A wild goose chase?
Not where I come from. The Morning Star is quite special, you know. Most airships all look the same and fly like slugs.
Why is it she different?
It's not just her looks. It's her guts, her keel, her ribs. The overpowered engines, the lightweight frame made of alloys the rest of the world won't know about for decades. And she can really move. We exceeded 110 miles per hour during our escape and sustained it for several minutes before the engines threatened to overheat. That's very fast. Faster than the British Warzeps we flew over China during that Boxer business.
Sorry, British Warzeps?
Zeppelins. Rigid airships, but primitive compared to the Star. Made for war by the British. If not for them, I'd never have met 40. Fortunato. The Royal Sky Navy was in its infancy, and only running secret missions under cover of night. Even the most rigid airship isn't bulletproof. Norway wasn't about to field such a force. So I went where the action was, flying for the Brits alongside an international rogues gallery of pilots from all over Europe. Well, I was the only Norwegian, to my knowledge. Fortunato was flying with a reckless Spaniard who got himself killed. Almost took 40 with him. I saw their Zepp go down and coordinated a rescue in the middle of a dogfight. But we got him out. You're not exactly what I expected, Haruna. And that's good, because frankly, I didn't expect much.
Okay.
But if you'll excuse me, this ship won't make port by herself.
Na, hat
It
sie
was
wohl recht,
nice
ja.
meeting you, Haruna.
Okay, das war's. Oh, ich muss ganz schnell an dem Typen vorbeilaufen und nicht hingucken. Okay, danke. Wie kann man das machen? Egal.
Let's get to it.
Was war das? Okay.
We're near the manor. You be ready. We may need a quick ticket out of here.
I should have no trouble tracking you, so long as you have your radios. According to the manifest, Reika was held in the mansion. Security will be tight. I suggest avoiding the front door.
Also durch die Fronttür. Okay, Fronttür. Oh Gott. Also gehen wir durch die Vordertür.
More than a few years studying here. I reckon I know just about every last servant's entrance this manor's got. Just follow me. I'll get us... Hey, hey! There's no way I'm squeezing through there.
No?
This is gonna be a regular thing with you.
Okay. Na dann mal ab durchs Anwesen.
I can cover more ground this way.
Are you crazy? He knows the grounds.
Look, believe it or not, I've done this kind of thing before. I fare much better on my own. Haruna out.
Just get Matos' journal. He knows what Vincent's up to and where Reika could be. This could be over quietly.
Haruna out. Can't risk them giving away my position.
Mhm. Sehe ich ähnlich.